to welcome everybody here that's watching, and in particular, want to welcome Bobby and Jenny Whittens, two of my favorites. Hi, guys. Welcome, welcome. How are you?
Good. Hey, how are you?
Doing great, well. Thank you. Must say, I love the background. Prior to the recording, we were playing with some different backgrounds. Bobby had some very unique ones that we weren't sure if they would be the right fit, so we just decided to stick with what's tried and true. The little pink house's background. Although I will say the COVID germ, that was very interesting.
I could always pull it back up. Always available.
Would be a very timely background. I mean, there's no
it's behind everything we do anyway right now.
That's right. That's right. So, well, guys, just for the folks that are watching, what we have started to do is really focus on the affiliates that are doing the deals, and when they have a successful transaction, we want to kind of break it down and kind of go through the details to highlight them, the great job that they're doing, and also to kind of make it a teaching moment as well. And so we talked before this call and this recording because you guys have had a lot of activity lately, and I've got to tell you, you guys are some of the best we have. Honored to have you, and that's no smile there. You guys are amazing people, and couldn't be more honored to have you as part of our family. So thank you for being so awesome, if I'm allowed to say that. So you guys are great, and we love having you.
Appreciate it very much. Absolutely. We know you say it to all the affiliates. We understand.
Yeah, it's my pad line.
All of them, of course. We get it. So we appreciate it anyway.
Well, thank you. Make me blush, Bobby. Make me blush. I'm turning red over here. So, well, as we were talking before, one of the kind of the format that we've used for this is really to dissect a deal, go deep, and kind of the good, the bad, the ugly, right? Tell us what happened, what you ran up against, what your challenges were, what the victory ultimately was, et cetera. But we kind of concluded that maybe what would be better and neater to discuss was your July. So, in the spirit of dating this video, we are in early September here, and that's okay because we've got a lot of these videos and got a lot more coming. So really, less than about a month ago would have been July, and you guys had quite a month. And so it doesn't go without saying we're kind of what we'd like to think at the tail end of COVID, knock on wood, right? And and I know that you guys have had some great activity. We talked about that in a prior communication. You guys did a testimonial videos for us for one of the trainings, but so it was really true that in a challenging time, a challenging market, our activity really was significantly, let me say it differently, was continuing and to improve and significantly better than maybe we would have expected. But that doesn't go without saying that there's obviously some limitations with COVID and some challenges that it has presented. So the fact that you guys have had such a great run here recently, that doesn't go without saying. Great job in spite of some big challenges. So having said that, we were talking about your July, and Bobby, I know there was a particular week in July that really stood out to you. So may I ask you to kind of give us a kind of a synopsis of that?
Sure. So it was basically the week of July the 4th. This was, during all of COVID and everything else. Our call volume had been up, but we were able to have scheduled several showings that week. I believe we look back, we'd scheduled 13 showings for the week of July the 4th week.
Wow, 13 showings.
13 showings. Now, out of those, about half of them canceled, so we wound up actually doing 6 showings.
Okay.
But out of those 6 showings, we wound up getting 5 buyer contracts.
Fantastic.
So that was a pretty good hit rate, we thought, and we were pretty happy with that. Now, subsequently, a couple of them didn't make it, but then 3 of them did make it all the way through to the closing, at least the first closing. So we thought that was a great week. We had a couple properties. One of them we'd just gotten, I think it was exactly 2 months before, so we had it exactly 60 days before we got the buyer contract on it. The other one I think we'd had for about 4 months, I'll say, maybe 4.5 months before we got the contract on it.
Okay.
And then the other one, I think,
it was longer.
Was it longer? Was it about a 5 months that we had in our contract?
Okay.
Got it actually in the right around Thanksgiving, so it was a longer one, but a more expensive property.
Okay, so that would make sense that it might have been a little bit of a longer sale just by virtue of the demographic. Do you think some of the delays were any COVID related?
I think so. One of the homes that we did sell, we'd actually gotten a contract on it twice before, and COVID pretty much killed both of those deals. One person had lost their job, so they had to back out of the deal. And another person, because of COVID and some of their tax issues, weren't able to go through with it, so they backed out of it. So we actually sold that one property 3 different times before we actually found one that stuck.
That's
the one that stuck in that July the 4th week. So
gotcha.
I want to take credit and say we sold that one 3 times, so I think that should count. But I'll just count it as once.
There you go. Add 3 to the bottom line. I like it.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, that was a great week for us. We had, a lot going on that week, and we wound up, bringing 3 of them to the soft closing. So that's been our best month/week since we started with Little Pink, going
Fantastic.
on about 18 months now. So we've been with you guys about 18 months.
And boy, time flies when you're having fun.
It does. It went by just like that.
So really, 5, it could have been a 5 closing month. And look, things happen, and COVID or not, I mean, it could have been other things. So we certainly don't want to hang our hats and say that was the reason, although to be fair, it obviously had an effect, but that itself, 5-month closing is amazing. 3-month is not so bad either, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So great job on that. As far as the deals, and I know, and I don't know if this was in, just recollection would say maybe it was in August, but I know you had a higher dollar one where the husband and wife were having some marital issues that we discussed, and that you actually had a buyer ready to go with a pretty sizable amount of money down, as I recall. But I also know you guys had a pretty big spread carved out. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get the marital issues worked through. Was that in August? Or was that in July as well?
That was July as well. That was,
oh, no kidding.
That was the big one that got away for July.
Got it.
May
I ask what you guys were hoping to make on that?
I think,
unless it's too painful to say. If it's too painful to say, that's not bring that memory back up. But
we just brace myself for it. I think initially, up front, we're looking at 35 up front plus some on the back end and some monthly spread as well. So it was probably 40-ish, all said and done. And so I may have cried just a little bit.
A tear, it would have been a justifiable shed of a tear. There's no question on that one.
It is one of those few occasions when it's manly to cry.
That's right.
I probably shed a tear on it, and it's completely understandable, and things beyond our control. And they were very complimentary of us and the program, and had nothing to do with us. It was, or maybe they were just telling us it wasn't us, it was them, or something.
Not
like
me.
Not me. It's you. No,
that's right. I think I said that backwards. Not you. It's
anywho,
me.
Anywho, we didn't capture that deal, and then the other one we didn't capture. I believe the husband really wanted to move, and I believe the wife wasn't convinced to move, and so happy wife, happy life. So
there's some truth to that
he is
saying.
happy, and she is happy, but we didn't get that deal.
I gotcha.
Well, we're happy that they're happy.
And to be fair, the big one was obviously, without going into details, that was you guys had a seller locked in. You had a buyer that was vetted and ready to go. A very solid deal as a whole, but the husband and wife had marital things that some of which we surmised that were going on, but neither here nor there. Unfortunately, it was beyond our control. So I just want to point out, for the sake of maybe a training moment, that it doesn't matter the type of real estate strategy you're doing. If you guys paid cash for that house, and I know we even talked about some variation of that, whether we try to sub to and or maybe even put some extra cash on the table, even if we own the house, the deals can still go south. It's part of real estate. Nobody likes it. It can feel like a kick in the teeth. It can feel like you need to shed a tear. But at the end of the day, part of real estate, you lose deals, and never feels good. And I don't think you ever get over that. Or let me say different. I don't think that ever changes. It still is not a good feeling when a deal goes south, but we do our best, and sometimes that happens. And so that would have been a nice one, but there'll be more. Well,
I will add, this wasn't the first deal that we kind of lost. The first one we lost, it was devastating.
Yeah.
We were at the high of the roller coaster ride, and then we were at the very bottom of the roller coaster ride.
Yeah,
I think I remember that.
After you lose one or two of them, then the next one, it still sucks, but it's not as crushing emotionally as the first one was.
Tell me why. I mean, I can surmise, but for the sake of sharing, what was just briefly about the deal, and why was it so crushing? It probably is rhetorical, but I'd like to ask anyway.
It was our first deal, so it was the first time we had a buyer offer. So of course we were riding that high, and the sellers were co-marketing at the same time, and they got a traditional offer at the same time.
Gotcha.
After the fact, we figured that out, but they had actually signed the AOTs and then decided to walk away from the deal. So
gotcha.
At the time it was really crushing to put in all that work and then have it happen. But like Bobby said, we've lost one or two here and there since then. And it's just part of the game.
Yeah. Well, and I think that I know I find this often. I think people like to think like us, and certainly we try to be genuine in all we do. But I think there's still that proof of concept that people feel is almost like a tip me over, right? They say, well, now I know it works. Now I know I can do it, and if I'm kind of in your heads, I'm wondering if that was part of the equation as well. As the first deal, you're right at the 99-yard line, get ready to go in, and it falls through. And, it's like that first proof of concept, right? And then that goes south. I'm sure that didn't help your feelings.
I think you're hitting right on it. I mean, it is, oh, this does work. This does work. Yes, it does work. We haven't wasted an investment. Everything they've been telling us is actually working out the way they told us it was supposed to work out. And yet, oh, well, no, what happened?
Yep.
Oh, now we're back at square one. So,
yep.
It was good to get back on the horse immediately and try and close in on the next one. And that's what we wound up doing. So
very good. And that, I assume, would be your advice, Bobby, to those folks watching that may encounter something similar?
Well, there's a couple things. And we kind of discussed this between Jenny and I. When we first started with this, there's this skepticism, there's this disbelief that it actually works. But when we met you guys, we instantly fell in love with Little Pink and everybody at Little Pink, and we just wound up implicitly trusting everyone. But there's still that haven't proven it yet. So each step of the way, it was, okay, if we start calling people, can we actually get sellers to sell their houses with us this way? Okay, well, that worked, but will the next thing work? Can we actually start marketing for that house and get people to start calling us? Well, then we started doing that, and the next thing you know, well, that worked. But the next thing cannot possibly work, where somebody will come with a down payment and then actually want to put an offer on that. Well, that happened. Well, there's no way we're going to be able to get to the first close, and there's no way in the world that'll work. Well, that happened. I don't know how many times it took us to go through that. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. There's no way. Okay, fine, it did, but we're still skeptical.
And it wasn't, for me, it wasn't skepticism about you all as a company and the program. It was, am I capable of following the process and actually yielding results, and just having the proof that, hey, yes, I can do this. So
it's really interesting, Jenny, and I appreciate everything you guys just said. But so it would be very normal for others to feel the same. And even if you can get past the skepticism on behalf of who we are and as a company and individuals, and then you see it working in application through the process of sellers and marketing, et cetera. But then you got to look in the mirror and say, can I do it? Right. And even though we try to go above and beyond with our support, and I hope that we're doing a good job in that respect. But that's really interesting. I'm certain that you're not alone in those thoughts. So what was the advice, or maybe what advice could you give, and how did your confidence change? And maybe just through the experience, but what can you shed some light on that, Jenny?
My thought the whole time was, okay, I've got to give it at least 6 months, because there's definitely a learning curve.
No question.
I've got to jump in and commit the time, because it does take significant time. For us that we have full-time jobs and are doing this on the side as well. So, it does take quite a bit of time every week. You need to be consistent with it. And so what I kept going back to is, I'm going to commit no matter what the results are this week. And then I kept going back to the numbers of, how many sellers are actually going to sign the seller contract? How many buyer calls should you get based on your marketing? How many of those buyers are actually going to be qualified? So I kept going back to that, so I wouldn't get discouraged about, lots of buyer calls and not a lot of folks with quality down payments.
Sure.
And we haven't tracked the numbers consistently the whole time, but for the most part, all the numbers that you should see about number of sellers that yield contracts, number of buyer calls you get, number of buyers that are qualified, all of those have held true over time for us.
Good. Yeah. And the buyer is probably the biggest one, where you have to kiss a lot of frogs to get to the prince, right? So and that I think the very good piece of advice to remind yourself of the numbers, because when you are talking to 10 people and 9 of them don't have much of anything, you can kind of question, well, am I marketing the right way? Is my marketing working? Am I attracting the right people? We do get not as much, I guess maybe in recently, but where people will call us after what their attempts at marketing look like. And I won't qualify those on this call, but if they put some ads out, whatever the case might be, and they don't get a lot of buyers on that first blush, and they assume, well, there's just nobody that has money where I live, and it just doesn't work where I live, whether is it maybe a different set of circumstances where we are. And of course it's that consistency, it's that I'd say tenacity, because you made the commitment, you've stuck with it, you jump in and do it, and the consistency is obviously is going to yield the results. So yeah, I definitely I think there's some good advice in there for people that are either starting or going through some of the same things that you guys did. So well, this is supposed to be a great, exciting, let's look at the deals, and I feel like I'm focusing on the negatives, but I think that's kind of our style. We want people to, we want to be real. We want people to know the challenges. There's some mountaintops that you can stand on the top of and scream and celebrate, and we sure love doing that. But there's also, like anything in life, you've got the good and the bad, and so I don't want to focus on all the negatives. I want to focus on the positives. But again, in the spirit of training, I've kind of gone in that direction a little bit. Bobby, were you starting to say something? I feel like I interrupted you there.
No, I was just going to add on to what Jenny was saying, because my challenge was the little pink process. It's laid out. You just have to follow the steps. I don't follow steps real well. I have a tendency of going off and doing my own things. So one challenge for me has just been saying, follow the scripts like they're written, follow the process like it's written, and you'll see results. I wish I could say I do that 100%, but I'm doing it more than when I first started out. So the process works. You just have to follow it. I would highly recommend, if there's anybody who's like me who has a hard time following the steps because they want to do their own kind of thing, make sure you've got a good partner that likes to follow the rules.
I'm the exact opposite. I want those steps. Every time I talk to a seller, I still have the seller script right in front of me, even though I basically have it memorized by now.
Sure, absolutely.
I look down to just make sure I know where I'm at, and then see words and just keep talking, because it's basically memorized. So, yeah,
exactly. It's this the protocol, and just that habit of seeing it and knowing where you are. And so, well, you guys obviously have a very complimentary relationship, and last time I spoke with Jenny, maybe in the last week or so, and there was some impromptu conversation around that, and we were complimenting her on how meticulous she is, and diligent and deliberate, and what an nice way to offset Bobby, who's maybe not following the rules all the time. I don't know anybody else like that, nobody looking at this camera here, but no names. So, well, let me ask you this, guys.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I've said this before. I'll say it again. Jenny is the brains of our operation. She's also the brawn of our operation. She's the beauty of our operation. I just kind of show up.
Well, I was just going to say, what's your role, Bobby? That's now I know. Well, I got to tell you, I share this story many times. I even shared it recently. It's my favorite Bobby story, and I've got to say it. So we're in class, we're in a training, and I had asked you your opinion. I said, Bobby, well, what's your opinion on that? And without breaking eye contact or without even a moment passing, you said, Scott, I'll tell you what my opinion is. Jenny, what's my opinion? And sitting right next to you, and the whole class erupted. And I mean, I still to this day laugh when I tell that story, but you don't miss a beat. And so you guys are a lot of fun to have around. Well, let me ask you this. And again, we want to try to keep these at a certain time, just for the sake of being able to digest a lot of them. And so love what you guys have shared. Thank you for the honesty and transparency. And again, I feel like we should be high-fiving and doing more upbeat things, because you guys are just doing wonderful, and we couldn't be happier, more excited. But again, just in the spirit of wanting to show all sides of the coin, we want to put that out there. So obviously, as we look to the balance of 2020, it's quite a year it's been. What do you guys have as far as what lies in front of you, maybe goals, and how would you like to finish the year? And what's your thoughts on going forward with Pink?
Yeah.
Big question.
So our July was so busy on the buyer front, it took a pause with sellers. So we're just getting restarted on the seller front. Definitely need to get moving there. We'd sold almost all of our inventory.
Good problem to have, still a problem.
Right, exactly. Yep. So we did get a new seller contract last week, but need to move forward with that. And then we have some goals to hire employees to do some of the day-to-day. We actually reached out to a VA last week to offload buyer calls, and something we've been saying we need to do for a while, but just haven't initiated it. So
Yeah,
we're in the process of doing
a
that.
couple of our goals that we had when we first started was to get to the point where we knew the business well enough to be able to start to scale it up. And we want to get to the point where we're generating about a deal a month by ourselves. We're real close to that goal right now. We've got another sales that should go through maybe the next 30 days or so. And doing that will get us real close to that one deal a month that we're looking for. And it also should take us to where we've now recouped all of our initial investment. So
fantastic.
We do that. And I think that's telling us it's probably time to start actually owning a business instead of working in the business. That's
very good.
Going to be our goal moving forward from this point, is to start, piecing it together is what makes sense. At this point, our pain points are the buyer calls and being able to answer those kind of live. As it is now, we have to answer them after work or on late at night or in the weekends or whatever. And I think we missed some opportunities there because of that. So that's one pain point that I think we want to cover. But again, scaling this up to where it's a business that we're owning, the business that we're not the cogs in the machine, because if you're a cog in the machine, you're the clog. And obviously I'm the clog of this machine. So you asked earlier what my goal was. My goal is to be the clog in our Little Pink machine. And our goal with Little Pink is just to keep scaling it up and expanding. And, next goal would be to 2 deals a month, then 3 deals a month, then 4 deals a month, and then 100 deals a month.
I like that. That is quite scaling. Well, first of all, I love what you're sharing, and I appreciate that. Let me say 2 things that I took from that. Jenny, what you said about the balance. It's one thing I learned early on in real estate is there's, unfortunately, probably never a perfect balance. You either have too many houses to sell or too many closings. And the key, which is a constant, is to try to keep parallel tracks at all times going, but with it, obviously limitations with your jobs, and you have houses, you need to sell them, you focus on the buyer calls, and then lo and behold, you wake up and you're out of houses. Then you got to focus back on sellers. And so I will say it's probably a never-ending cycle, and the key is just trying to find that balance, right? And I think it's easier said than done, keeping dedicated time on each side. And so, but what you're experiencing is something that is everyone will probably experience at some point, which is just the inconsistency. You'd like to keep that balance, number one. And Bobby, you said something that was a big takeaway, and that is working on the business instead of in it. And you have to achieve that level. And we do see people come through here that want to send an associate of theirs through the training and or have the associate really in charge, if you will, or the one learning the business prior to them doing so. And I've seen it work, but I like how you guys are doing it, where you've gotten in, you've learned it, you have goals, metrics you're achieving, and then at a certain point, that's when you say, okay, now we have the knowledge, we know the ins and outs, and now we can hire someone and answer questions intelligently and ultimately be able to work on the business as opposed to in it. And it's a big graduated step. And so I want to just point that out. That's a great step to graduate to. And obviously kudos for you guys hitting the goals and getting to that point.
It was all her idea.
I bet it was. So, well, guys, I will go ahead and just for the sake of time, wrap this. Great July. I know I saw Teresa, one of the interviews or vetting come through this week. I think must have been the deal you're mentioning right there, and sometime in the next 30 days. So great job. Keep up the great work. Looking forward to 1 a month, consistent, 2 a month, and then we'll grow from there. But full circle, smiling aside, you guys are just amazing. And I don't say that to everybody, Bobby. Don't say it to everybody. But you guys really just as good as they get, personally and professionally. So again, honored to have you guys as part of our big extended family.
And, from our viewpoint, we're part of the Pink family. You guys are our family. We have nothing but love and respect for everybody. It's a great opportunity for everyone. If there are any new affiliates who'd like to talk with us, we're more than happy to speak with them. And again, nothing but love and respect for everything you've put together, Scott, and everything from everybody at corporate, except for that Mike Matthew guy.
I was waiting for that one. I agree.
Every family's got somebody.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Mike would gladly say he's that guy, right? So, well, thank you, Bobby. That feeling is definitely mutual. And so, you guys, thank you for your time, for spending a few minutes today. Keep going, and we will talk very soon.
Very good. Thank you very much, Scott.
Thanks, guys. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.